Hello, my name is Amarinder Singh. I am a iOS developer. Today we will learn about the functions in Swift. Right? So what are the functions? Functions are self-contained chunks of code that performs a specific task. You can give a function a name that identifies what it does, right? And this name is used to call the function to perform its task when needed. So let's start with the function. So to create an function, first we have to write the keyword called func and then the name of function like print value and then the parenthesis and then the curly bracket which we call the function body, and then we created one function with name print value, right? So now let's add one uh, operation inside our function called print. We call it function example, right? Now if we have to run this, you can see we are running but nothing is appearing because we not called that function, right? Now let's call it with print value. So now we call this function, right, and the function example and the body is executed, right? So here basically we have a body for our function, body of function, right? Now the second is, now we can create a parameter inside a function, right? Suppose, what is an parameter? Parameter basically when we want to pass any value, executing time or maybe calling time, if we want to pass any value to a function to execute some, like for example we create here variable or name, we can call it body as a string. So we created one variable inside a function which called a parameter. So here is a name of parameter body and the type of parameter is string, right? And then we just pass the body to the print. Now we have to pass the value runtime like print value, and here we call it function parameter value passed, right? Let's print it. Okay, you can see now we call this function here, it goes to here and then body pass to here, and then it given the this body string to the print parameter, right? So it printed the value. Okay, I hope you understand. Now we can do a return. Basically when we execute some function, it will return us some output, like suppose we will return as type of string, right? So here we have to pass the return as a basically we are now returning the same body which we are, or if we can add suppose return. Now what we done is we modified the body which we are passing from here, right? So let's check. Now here we so what happened is, so basically we created one function which is asking us to pass any parameter, and when we are doing some value to the parameter, it is modifying it by adding a string called return. So let's check this. Print not yeah, print. Now we are not printing to the exact value. Let's see what happened. Okay, you can see now it printed the two values, right? First is we call this function, right, and we pass the body which is function parameter value passed, which is printed here. Then what we done is we append some more text with parameter means we modified that body and return to the function, right? We return to the function and then this function has returned us the modified value, right? Or we can call it modified. You can see here we have modified string. So I hope you understand the uh, about the function parameters and the return type. Here we can return we can ask for multiple parameters and we can return here a multiple values, right? Suppose here if we want to return two values, we can call just like this, second, right? Then it will return the second value. We have to just make it some more like this, right? So now we can return two values. So okay, so now the second is generics, right? So what are the generics? First of all, the generics code enables you to write flexible reusable functions that and types that can work with any type, subject to requirements that you define, right? You can write code that avoids duplication and expresses its intent in a clear abstracted manners. Generics are one of the most powerful features in Swift, and much of the Swift standard library is built with generic code. So let's use it. So suppose the problem, we can create one problem and then we will solve it with generic, right? Suppose we have a one function called swap two values, right? And we have a parameters called in out. We have a parameter suppose called we have a parameter called integer, and then it will return us and basically it will swap the first value with the second value, right? Then let's try it. And we have another keyword called in out. What it does I will just explain once I'll finish it. Let temporary a is equal to a, then we assign the b value to the a, right here, and then b equals to temporary a, right? So what we done is we swapped the a value with b value by we created one variable called temporary a and we assigned the a value to the temporary a. So now to a value will be replaced with b value, and then b value will replaced with temporary a, right? So let's create a two variables, right? Variable a value equals to 3 and variable b value equals to 106 or 102, right? So now we have to just call that function in out, because it's a in out value, then we called here a value and then b value, right? So let's print out here. Okay, print swapped, we call here swapped values are a is equals to a value. Okay, let me add here a value and then b equals to the b value, right? So let's check it. So you can see here the a value is 102 and v value is 3, right? So what we done is we created two variables and we created one function which is in out, means it will do execute with these variable values and return to these values, right? The output is returned to these values. Basically we are doing reference of that variables, right? So now you can see we done it, right? So suppose we have to do the same thing for the string type variables. Suppose string, and then string, then we called it as in string. Suppose here we call it iOS dev, right? B name, and we called it here a name, right? So we have to rewrite the function which do the same operation, right? So we print here swapped names are a name and then b name, right? So we created two functions. One is of type, one is accepting only integer and one is accepting only two string value, right? We just complete it, and a name and b name, and cannot string to expected. Okay, we just have to rename it. Okay, now let's see. So you can see we swapped now the string values too, right? But the issue is we created the two functions, right, which they are doing the same operation, right? So how we can use the generic to resolve this, right? So for suppose if we have a generic, we can create a generic. Let's suppose we can convert it into a generic. So we just have to type here generic type. So this function is as a generic type, in out as a t type, generic type, and then again t type, right? Now you can see the magic of the generic. You can see now it is a is dev and b is iOS, so it's swap same without defining any type, right? Now let's suppose I want to pass here true and I want to pass here as a false. Let's see. You can see here it automatically let's suppose we define a variable types too, right? Boolean. So you can see it swapped the boolean values as well, right? Let's remove it now, right? So now our one function is doing all operations, right? Suppose it is an integer type and we pass here 2, and it is also an integer type and we have to pass here 24, right? Let's see the magic. Okay, so with generic we can pass any type of value and it automatically execute the same output, right? So I hope you enjoyed this. Please do subscribe my channel for the future videos, and please like this video, and if you have any query then you can comment me, right? I will try to answer it. Thank you.